Today, it is day 3 of keeping kids busy at home. I've been teaching you guys different things every day for the last 3 days because we're in a season where a lot of parents have their kids at home. And as a homeschool mom, this is something that I do know a lot about, and I'm excited to share these things with you. So, way back in the first video, I will still come back to this and say, I think the biggest piece of what is going to be helpful and what is helpful when you have kids home is to have a basic schedule that you work with, okay? In that video, I shared with you the link where you can go to get your own copy of this very same schedule that I'm giving you guys to work with. And if you go back to the video in Facebook to watch that from the first video, you'll see where I shared a picture of what this looks like, of what these things are. But in that video, I also walked you through that. So if you have not watched that first video where I talked about the biggest thing that you can do being a daily schedule, go back and watch that because that is still the biggest piece. I will forever say that having a daily schedule, not because it's going to be perfect, not because every day is going to go completely according to plan, but because when you have a basic daily schedule as a structure, you have a structure that is going to help keep all of the wheels from falling off the bus, okay? So, that was all in the first video. Yesterday, I talked about having independent time and how nice that really is. It really is possible to have alone time as a mom with kids at home. It's important. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. Think about it as your opportunity to catch your breath. And I know that's something that's really hard for moms, especially when we're in this transitional time of having kids home. You're used to kind of having your time to yourself while your kids are at school, and you kind of make you kind of dictate and decide how the day is going to go while the kids are at home. And when the kids are at home, that all kind of goes out of the window. But you still need a few moments to just kind of recoup and catch your breath. And so we talked about that in the second video. And today we're going to be talking about another thing that you could do to keep kids busy at home. And this has so many positive benefits, and you can use this same skill in any numbers of ways. It doesn't even have to be when your kids are home from school. It can be something that you do, that you work through on the weekend when your kids are home, right? It's just a really great thing that you can be doing. And so what we're going to be talking about today is working on a family project together. And I'm not talking about sitting down and doing a puzzle together or playing a game together, right? Those are good things and all of that. And you might think of that as a family project. But that's not actually what I'm talking about today. What I mean when I'm talking about a family project is that you're going to be taking on a task that needs to be done in your home or around your home as a family, okay? And it obviously has the most obvious benefit of you actually get a task done, right? But here's the thing: I am a firm believer that not all of the tasks that need to be done around your house need to be done by the parents, right? Our house could not function if I and my husband works a lot, so he's not here a lot. So I'm just going to say if I had to carry out all of the tasks that happened here, not only on a daily basis, the things like making meals and all of that stuff, if I had to do all of that stuff, plus I had to do the extra tasks like cleaning out the garage and organizing the linen closet after everybody rumples and throws towels around, and all of those types of projects, the things that are not really the daily tasks, but more like the projects, like we need to clean out the garage, we need to organize the game cupboard, we need to do all of these things. This is kind of what I mean. So I am a firm believer that not everything needs to be done by me, mom, right? And I am also a firm believer that kids need to learn how to do these things, right? They need to know how to do these things. Not only are they going to be learning how to do the task, they're also going to be learning how the process that goes into taking on a task that has multiple steps involved, right? Pretty much anything you take on as a family project is going to have different steps. You're going to do this first, and then you're going to do this and this and this. These are things that kids learn. And by working through this together, they're going to be learning from you how to take a larger task and break it down into step-by-step things. We don't think about how that really is a learned skill, but it really is. And this is a great opportunity. This is a great time when you've got your kids home and you're looking to keep them busy. You're tired of hearing that kids are bored. The more kids are left kind of on their own, if you've got more than one, they pick at each other. They do things you don't love that they do. They make messes. They just go from one thing to the next. These are all the things that happen when kids are kind of just left on their own to do whatever. And so when your kids are home from school, the more you can keep them from doing whatever happens to move them at the moment, and you involve them by keeping them busy, giving them specific things to do, like we talked about with the individual time yesterday, like we're going to talk about with this family project. Really, the better the day is going to go, the better you're going to feel, the better they're going to feel. Plus, you're actually going to be having some intentional time. You're going to be getting some things done that need to be done, right? We're talking about a family project, okay? And we really can make these things kind of fun, and they really can be something that can be enjoyable. It really is possible. And there's a couple of things we can do to try to make that happen more, where it actually is something that isn't met with drudgery and complaining. It's like Mary Poppins said, right? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And so we'll talk about like what that spoonful of sugar could be. Okay. So before I kind of unfold the how-to of how to manage this, and what I like to do when I teach people things is I like to break them down and make them super step-by-step. So some of these steps may be things that you find obvious, but I want to make sure that I'm connecting all the dots and I'm going through everything so that you're not left wondering how I got from here to there, okay? So before I break this down into really small, manageable steps so that you know exactly what to do, I want to share the primary benefits that I have found in keeping your kids busy with a family project, aside from the obvious, right? We get a task done, right? That's kind of the obvious. But in addition, it builds teamwork. When you guys are working on this shared project as together, it builds teamwork. And this is a good skill, right? These are skills that kids need in the outside world. When they're adults, they're going to need to know how to work as a team, even when they're just in college. Even in college these days, there's so much I have a daughter in college, so much of her requirements is, you need to give feedback on this student's paper. You need to work on this as a group, These are, knowing how to work as a team are going to be skills that your kids need when they grow up. And it's helpful if they learn how to do that best. And this is a great opportunity to build a sense of teamwork in your family too. In our family, we remind our kids all the time when so-and-so's complaining about, well, they didn't do this, or it's not my turn, or it's not my job, or whatever. We are quick to remind our kids that we work as a team. And we have a book. We have some books that we read our kids on character training. It's something that we're big on. Just those skills, right? One of them is on working as a team. And their acronym for team is Together, Everyone Achieves More, right? TEAM. Together, Everyone Achieves More. And that is so good. It's not mine. Again, we got it from one of the books. I think it's from Julia Cook. There's amazing books. If you're wondering about these resources, I'd be happy if you email me and ask me, hey, what are those character books you read with your little kids? I'd be happy to send you what we use. But it's important to build teamwork, and it really does. It brings a positive vibe to your home when your kids know that they are part of a team. When you work as a team and when they're used to kind of a team culture, and you can remind them that, when somebody is missing, we miss them. We are used to working as a team. And so it just kind of builds that togetherness. It's a sense of identity, right? Who are we? We are our team. We are our family. So teamwork is a really great thing, a really great word to put on the culture that you would like to have in your home with your kids. If it's a word that you haven't used before, like, hey, isn't this awesome? We're working as a team. Like, just start to put that label on certain things. You're all clearing the counter after dinner. Wow, look at this. We're building as a team. Isn't teamwork awesome? So you can start using that word today. If you say, well, my kids wouldn't know what teamwork is or why that's useful. It's a good word for them to know. It's a good word for them to know and have illustrated by you in terms of this is what teamwork looks like. Again, so that when they get out in the world and they have to work as a team, it's familiar to them. They know what that means. But that is a benefit. It builds teamwork, which is so, so good. And then it also builds self-esteem for your kids, right? Your kids are contributing to an end goal, right? We're going to get the garage organized, right? It helps them when they are actually working towards something and it actually gets done. It's the same as when you complete an individual task, right? Wow, look at that. I did that, right? It's a good thing. It's a good self-esteem building thing, especially if you kind of build into that a little bit more, right? And just say, wow, you're doing such an amazing job. Of course, if they aren't, don't say that, right? I'm not a big one into telling them things that aren't true. But, when your kids are working hard on this family project, tell them, wow, you're doing a great job, that kind of thing. Really effective. If you want your kids to be more willing to help you with things, build them up in the process. It really does help. Okay, but that's the second benefit, is that it builds a sense of self-esteem. Our kids need a positive self-esteem. It's so hard to get that in the world these days. I think it's so easy to be negative. Your kids are probably bombarded by opportunities to feed the negative self-esteem side of them, where we as parents need to do everything we can to try to build up the positive self-esteem and help them develop that. And this is a great way to do that. And then it also, when you work together on this family project, it provides an opportunity to talk and laugh with your kids, right? It's intentional time. When I talk to parents and say, what is something you wish you could do more with your family? Well, I want to be more intentional. It's a word that I love, right? If you don't know that, I already run the blog called The Intentional Mom, right? That's an awesome word in my book. But that's really what we as parents want. And that's one of the reasons why I do so many and create so many tools for moms and for busy moms and parents to help, like this schedule, right? To try to, we all have things we have to do in life, right? This is part of my Home CEO Life Planner. And I created that as a tool to help moms get more organized with their days, with their priorities, and with their tasks. The whole concept of less is more. I try to encourage busy moms to do less, because doing less actually accomplishes more. But I do all of those things because when I talk to moms, and I create these resources, because when I talk to moms, they all say, I just want more time to spend with my kids, and I feel like I don't have any, right? I feel like I'm always busy doing all the stuff that there's no time left to live life or have fun or enjoy things or do things together as a family. That's why I create what I create, to try to help busy women and moms take care of this stuff, right? Probably less stuff than you think you need to, so that you have more time to spend intentional time with your kids and your family. But working on a family project, by default, you're spending intentional time together, and it's a great opportunity to laugh and talk together, right? As you're working on it, it's a great opportunity to say, hey, what are you learning about in school? Or how's that going with, how are things going with your, friend, Mary, or whatever. It's just, you kind of are all there together. It's a great time to be intentional, but also to talk and have some fun. Okay. All right. And then the fourth benefit is obviously that you get a task done. I put that one last because it is important, though. These are things that you typically take on for yourself, and you take care of them, or they're things that are just left undone. Using the time that you have with your kids at home, is a great time to actually get some things done. And the cool thing about that is that the more you spend time working through these tasks and projects as a family, if there are things that wouldn't get done otherwise, they're probably going to be things that will benefit your family, right? If you organize the garage, you're going to find things easier. You're going to, be able to put things away easier. It's going to be nicer to look at, right? There's benefits to these tasks that you're doing. So if they're tasks that you're normally leaving undone, obviously you're going to get these benefits. But also if they're tasks that you would normally take on yourself, right? It's much more useful and helpful to have that help so that you can move on from these tasks that you have to do and have more time to do X, Y, or Z, right? We are really intentional in the springtime in my family of getting all of these projects done, the spring cleaning stuff, the organizing, getting all of that stuff done. Because in the summer, we like to go to the beach. It's kind of our standard rule. We go to the beach at least once a week, and we like to do a lot of fun stuff. And I don't want to spend time doing all of these tasks in the summer. I want to get all of the tasks done so that in the summer we have more time to have fun. And the same thing. So you'll get a task done now. Okay. All right. So those are the benefits. And most of them you probably already know, but maybe there's some things in there that you hadn't thought about. Okay. So now let's talk about how to do this. How do you take and make a family project work? Okay. What I would suggest doing is you choose a 30-minute task, or if they're tasks that are going to take longer, you not work on them for any longer than 30 minutes at a time without taking a break, right? 30 minutes for most kids, it's enough where they're not annoyed, right? If your kids are older, like, okay, it's only 30 minutes. And if you have younger kids, it's enough where they're not bored and saying, when are we going to be done? All of these things happen, right? So I find that 30 minutes is a pretty good chunk of time to make some progress, keep everybody engaged, keep the complaining at bay, and still have enough time to actually make some headway. So I think 30 minutes is a really good thing. So whether you choose a 30-minute task or, take a task and break it down into 30-minute chunks of, this is what we can get done in 30 minutes. This is our game plan for this 30 minutes. This is going to be what I think we can get done, and this is going to be what our focus is. 30 minutes is what you want to start with, however you want to do that. But 30 minutes, that's it for a family project, at least at this particular sitting, right? We'll come back to it later this evening. We'll come back to it tomorrow and work for another 30 minutes, whatever it might be. But 30 minutes, I think, is a reasonable amount of time. It's a reasonable amount of time for your kids to be able to give you their focus, time, and attention to, again, accomplish something that needs to be taken care of. This needs to happen. And it doesn't just need to be me, right? So 30-minute task, okay? That's step one. Step two is to break the task down. So when you in your mind are thinking, okay, what's the task that we're going to do, or the chunk of the task that we're going to, take on here, you need to think about how to break the task down into that 30 minutes. What are the steps that actually have to be done? A lot of people have a hard time getting projects done because the task as a whole feels overwhelming. And some people have a harder time than other people, especially kids, right? Thinking through, what are the steps? What do I need to do? Well, I need to do this first. I need to do that, this second, this third, this fourth, right? Some people have a very analytical brain. Mine is one of them, and can easily break stuff down. That doesn't overwhelm me. It's something that comes second nature, but it doesn't for everybody. Plus, you want to kind of have an outline and know what actually has to happen so that you can do what we're going to do in the next task, which is determining who will do what, right? If you have 4 people or 5 people, you're going to want to take that task and think of the different pieces and chunks that there will be so that you can kind of assign a piece or a part to different people depending on who you have and what their ability level is and all of that. So these 3 things kind of go together. You need to first, in your mind and on paper, I have an itemized task list. If you have, I know many of you have the Home CEO Life Planner. If you have that, this is exactly what you would want to put on the itemized task list. If you don't have the itemized task list, you can just use a piece of notebook paper and just think about, how can I break this down into a way that will help us get this task done in the most efficient way possible in 30 minutes, but also who can do what. And that way you have those 2 pieces of the puzzle. So step 2 is to break the task down in your mind, put it on paper, write it down, so that then you can determine who will do what. That's step 3, right? And then the next piece is to actually decide on a reward, right? Rewards are good. I don't look at them as bribery, right? We all kind of, everything in life kind of has a reward associated with it, right? You show up to work, you get a paycheck. You could look at that and say, that's really just bribery, right? I'm being bribed to come to work. Well, you really can't argue. You kind of are. But I think it's really great to come up with a reward. It doesn't have to be anything major, right? It can be, something like, we'll have something to eat, right? A treat. It could be, we're going to watch a movie tonight. Could be, we'll play an extra, game of Uno, or, it doesn't have to be a big deal reward. But you should decide ahead of time on what the reward for everybody's hard work. Again, we need to work hard. We need to get these, this is what needs to happen. And when that does, here's the reward. Okay. So that's step number 4, is to decide on the reward. Okay. So now you kind of have the whole thing planned out, right? And now we're going to move on to actually taking action on that. Okay. So the first 4 steps are just kind of the planning phase. Now we're going to move on to the action phase. Okay. So now step number 5 is you're going to assign the tasks to the various people and share the reward, right? So this is what we're going to do during the 30 minutes. Jack, you're going to do this, and, Lucas, you're going to do this, and, whatever. You're going to do this piece, right? And if you have kids who are real little, you can either assign them to an older kid to work along and help them, or, have them work along with you. Again, involve your little kids, even if they're really not doing anything. And even if they're maybe even getting in the way a little bit, again, you're trying to, number one, teach them how we do these things, right? They're learning and seeing how it's going to work when they get older. But also you're building that teamwork culture. And if somebody's left out, you're just not building it the same way, right? So obviously, a 6-month-old is kind of different, but they can still be out there with you or in the room with you or whatever. And it's amazing what little kids can actually do if you give them, one simple thing. So just include as many of your family members as you can, and then let them know, this is what I need you to do. This is maybe how I need you to do it, right? Maybe you'll need to provide some instruction, and then share the reward, okay? And then step 6 is to set the timer. Set a timer. It's amazing how a timer is an amazing incentive to help people keep moving, right? And then it kind of turns into a race the clock thing. So you really will find that most people are going to get more done when they're working with a timer. It's also helpful when they can see how much time is left, right? Instead of, oh, when are we going to be done? There's a timer. They can look at it. It just kind of alleviates some of the annoyance that can come along with when are we going to be done, right? There's the timer. Everybody can see it. Don't ask me kind of a thing. All right. And then the last step that I find really helpful when you guys are going to work on this family project is to listen to music or a narrated story while you're doing it. Again, I say the narrated story with some caution because you don't want kids to stop and listen, right? It has to be something that if you see that that's happening, stories can be great. A lot of times we do that, but sometimes it will be a story that is so engaging or so exciting for my kids that one or two of them might actually stop working and just listen, right? So just kind of a heads up on that could happen. Maybe that tells you that's a really great thing to do for a half hour before bedtime, right? It's a super engaged, your kids are interested in it. What a great thing to sit around in the living room and actually listen to that for a half hour then, right? That can give you a great clue into how to spend some fun family time. Your kids love it. They want to just sit and listen, right? So maybe music is a better choice in that situation, okay? But I find it's really helpful. Again, it's really motivating. It helps pass the time better. It just helps, right? But it should be music that everybody obviously is okay with and doesn't cause fighting. And if it causes fighting, then just, I don't want to listen to that. No, I don't, you know what I'm saying? So if it's something that becomes stressful and not helpful, then don't use it, okay? So a family project, you guys, I walked you through why they're beneficial. And this is a great time if you've never done something that's a little bit more structured with a family project like this. If you've never kind of built in that culture of teamwork, this can be a great time to actually do that. Kids love being part of a team, and it's skills they're going to have to learn anyway. And as a mom, I can say, it makes me feel good when my whole family is working together as a team. It kind of just makes everybody feel good, but I think especially us as moms. So this is a great way to keep kids busy. It's a great way to do all those things we talked about with the self-esteem and the teamwork, but you can actually get something done too so that you have more time to do some of this fun stuff or drive your kids places that they keep asking you to do and you can't ever seem to find the time for, right? That is an awesome thing to explain to your kids too, Hey, we need to work together on this family project because it needs to be done. And if I'm the one stuck doing it, like, I know you guys want me to do this or that or this, well, if I don't have the time, because I'm stuck doing this project, I might not have the time to do that. You're not trying to manipulate them. In my life, that really is the truth, right? I only have X amount of hours in the day. You only have X amount of hours in the day. So if we're able to take a few things off your plate, that makes it much more possible for you to do what it actually wants you to do, okay? So hopefully I've given you guys, I just clicked over to the comments. Good to see you, Trisha. I'm glad you were here. I wasn't ignoring you. I couldn't see the comments till just now. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. But hopefully I've given you guys something really motivational to do. It really is fun. It really is fun to work together as a family on a project. So I want to encourage you to do that during this time. And then tomorrow I will be back and I will be sharing another strategy that you can use for how to have it be maybe a little bit less stressful to have your kids at home. Okay? So I will see you then.